and thanks for joining us at Universal Heritage Television Naija. We welcome you once again to our breakfast show, Daybreak Naija. My name is Afam Echi. I have two gentlemen to discuss the issue of Naira Redesign and the matters playing around it. I have Mr. Martins Ori, a senior journalist and a publisher. Martins, you are welcome to the program.
Thank you very much, Afam.
Yeah. Close to Martin Ori is Duru Daniels, a radio presenter as well as a public opinion analyst. Duru Daniels.
Thank you very much, Mr. Afam, and I wish you happy viewing.
Thank you again. The issue of Naira Redesign is in the front burner, and I can tell you there is no part of the country that it has not touched. The reactions coming from Nigerians in terms of the protest action, the killing of human beings, and the rest of it all tells the story. Yesterday, the President Muhammad Buhari made a speech in an effort to douse all tensions, and consequently, he has allowed 200 Naira bills to be used again as a legal tender, contrary to the CBN rule, which said it has ceased to be legal tender. Now, Martins, the president in his broadcast stated that he is committed to ensuring a free and fair election. Part of the effort is to avoid vote buying. Now, he has said 200 Naira notes should be used again as a legal tender. If you look at the issues playing out around the Naira Redesign currency notes, the CBN said they have pushed so much money, and there is the allegation that some of these politicians have cornered this money. Now, the president is saying he's committed to a free and fair election. Do you think he will succeed, given the fact that the politicians have cornered this money and he has reintroduced 200 Naira bills? How do you reconcile that effort?
Thank you very much, Afam. I think if you take a very comprehensive look at what has been happening since the CBN governor, Emefiele, announced the policy of the new Naira redesignation, you will see that a particular sect in the society has been fighting against it, which means practically the president got it right that in order to stop vote buying, something drastic must have to be done, and what he came out with was to redesign the new Naira notes of 200, 500 and 1,000. There was a huge protest outside the southeast or southeast and the south-south. There was a protest in the southwest, north and other parts of the country. The truth you must have to understand is that there are people who have stockpiled the Naira notes of 1,000 and 500 Naira, and if you like me have been covering the elections since 1999 across Nigeria to date, you discover that in 1999 the highest denomination in 1999 was the 50 Naira. It was 50 Naira and 220 Naira that politicians used between 1999 and 2003, when Obasanjo now changed the currencies and introduced high currencies of 1,500 Naira. That is what because it is easier to stockpile
higher bills.
The 200 Naira, you have to have it more to stash it. It's not very easy. So the people who are advising Buhari, telling leave 200 Naira, do away with the 1,000 Naira and 500 Naira. They are currency experts, and these people have been monitoring the elections. They know that it is 1,500 Naira, because by the time they give you one bundle of 1,000 Naira, that is 100,000. By the time they give you one bundle of 500 naira, that is 50,000. And that is what they used to buy the election, 10,000, 5,000. By the time they bring one bundle of 1,000 naira, you have bought 10 people. By the time you bring one bundle of 500 naira, you have bought 5 people. So it is not really easy to bring 200 naira to get up to 10,000. So what I'm saying is that I stand effectively, comprehensively by President Muhammadu Buhari. In fact, from just as an extension, this is the second of Muhammadu Buhari's policy I'm supporting in almost 8 years. The first one was the railway project, which unfortunately he didn't bring to the southeast. But in spite of that, I know that the Igbos are everywhere, in the north, in the west, in the south. We are indirect beneficiaries of it. Aside that, this is the second of Muhammadu Buhari's policy that I am giving comprehensive. In fact, we say enlightened summa cum laude. That is the highest in level of distinction. Is a welcome policy. Any person fighting it has a rethink.
It's okay. During that, let me ask you, while Martin was expressing his views, he stated that some people are fighting President Muhammadu Buhari over the currency redesign. Now, some other persons have said that the fight is a fight of two cabals in the APC government. Some other persons said this is a fight of where a kingdom is fighting itself. And when two elephants fight, it is the crisis that and we can see how it is affecting the public, the masses. Out there, you see people queuing up, even some sleep in the banks just to have money, and yet the money doesn't get their way. Now, is it right, is it proper for people to suffer just because of the selfishness and the greed of a few leaders?
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Afam. I agree with you that they are deliberately shifting the burden to the masses, making the masses to feel the pain more, so that the masses will not see the good side of this policy. I think I have said this before, and I'll continue to say it. For me, just like my brother Martin said, this policy is a wonderful one, it's a good one. Any right-thinking Nigeria that means well for this country should support that policy. Unfortunately, like you just said, these people who are fighting, who I asked somebody yesterday, I called somebody's attention yesterday who was trying to buy into the defense that is being put up by governor of Kaduna State. I was asking him, so this man, you now believe that this man is actually speaking in defense of the masses, and we have been buying fuel at exorbitant rate for more than 3 months here in the country, and none of these governors went to court. So you are buying into what they are saying now? No, I don't think. It cannot be in defense of the masses. The truth about it is that they are crying because the policy is sitting them hard. And let me be more specific, because I even had somebody on radio, on air this morning, saying that it cannot be, the policy cannot be hitting the governors that hard, that they are crying, that they are actually crying for in defense of the masses, because that they have access to the banks, to the commercial banks, that they can get as much money as they want. And I said, no, I disagree. Because if they do have, yes, I agree that they have access to the bank, but then we are talking about 6 billion naira from that presidential address. We are still talking about 6 billion naira that is still out of circulation from the bank. Because if you took a closer look at that address, you will see where it was mentioned that 2.7 is out of circulation, 2.7 trillion is out of circulation, and that they have, with this policy, they have already raked in 2.1. It means that we are still looking for about 6 billion naira. Now, when I asked that, my friend, where is this 6 billion naira? Is it in my house or in your house? It is in the house of this governors, these politicians. That is just the truth. And if you think it's that easy for them to begin to bring them out, and begin to lock them into the commercial banks, then I tell you, you are far from reality, because you think they have access, but right now, this is electionary period. All eyes are watching. Everybody is really focused on their ins and outs, their movement, everything. We want to really, Nigerians are wiser, and the level of participation in this forthcoming election will tell you that a lot of people are interested, and that we have, there is this, you can't compare the level of awareness, sensitization, I mean politically, than, you can't compare it with what we saw during the last election. So it has increased, and it is not going to be easy for them to begin to lodge in those money. So the truth about it is that is why they are crying, and not necessarily in defense of the masses.
Okay, Martins, he said the politicians that are crying are not really crying for the public. And we can single out El Rufai, the governor of Kaduna State. He has been leading the fight, he has been leading the war, tackling the president, to the surprise of so many. Because some people believe that El Rufai is close to the presidency. But then suddenly he has now turned, and even yesterday, after the president's speech, he tackled the president and saying that it is wrong for him not to have obeyed the Supreme Court judgment, which now nullified CBN's action of rejecting the old notes. So, do you think El Rufai is right in tackling President Buhari? Or whose interest do you think he is fighting for?
The fact of the matter remains that Afam, you see, it is since 1999 that we ceased to have what we used to call the Kaduna Mafia. And El Rufai, based on his antecedents, thought that it was not good that the Kaduna Mafia was stopped by IBB, by the former head of state, General Muhammadu Buhari. He now wants to recreate in another form, in another format, in another means, what we used to call the Kaduna Mafia. The time generals used to go to Kaduna to discuss about schools, to discuss who becomes the president of Nigeria, to discuss how Nigeria is shared. Major policies of Nigeria used to emanate from Kaduna. Right now, it is no longer that. El Rufai, being a scion of the oligarchy, knows what it takes for Kaduna Mafia to be regurgitated, and that is exactly what he's doing. Point number one. Point number two is that don't forget that El Rufai was among the scriptwriters of APC. El Rufai was a top notcher of APC. Now they thought that APC would continue ruling Nigeria as long as they want through election manipulations. Now that it appears that their intention is not going to be realistic again, why not they come out to fight their own man? They said this game is a game of interest. It does appear now that the president of Nigeria, who they installed, is now fighting against their own personal interests, so they must have to rise in defense of their own interests. That is what El Rufai is doing. Point number two, El Rufai cannot tell us that he does not understand simple ABC of the Nigerian judicial processes. In that suit in the Supreme Court, why didn't it originate from the lower court? In the federal court, go to appeal before going to the Supreme Court. They rather rush straight to the Supreme because of time. They know that by the time the thing starts from the lower court, before it gets to the Supreme Court for final adjudication, the elections will have been over, which is the primary factor of what they are fighting for. So they went straight to the Supreme Court for a straight interpretation.
Now, let me inform you, in a matter between the state government and federal government, the Supreme Court is the first and only instant in the
even there are so many other places that have one. You see, that is what we call Nigeria. They interpret and do things the way it suits them, and at other times they go right, at other times they go left. That is what IBB used to say, a little bit to the right, a little bit to the left, which is abnormal. It cannot be. You cannot be running around in a circle. You see, even at that, go and look at the suit. CBN was not joined. They sued the federal government. The facility we are here now is a new UT. If your station has any problem with any person, instead of suing Universal Television, he went and sued a NUT. Nothing concerns you. What you used to, if they come here and shut down the place, the simple thing you do is to go back to NUJ where you came from and start a broadcast. It does not concern you. So there was an error of application. Then, if Rufai thinks, as is alleging, that the Supreme Commander of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, President Muhammadu Buhari, has committed any he ought to have gone back to the Supreme Court, not himself. When in 1993, Anton Zedibe went to court to stop the June 12th election, citing Decree 51 as an example. The then NEC chairman disagreed with him, went ahead, conducted the election. The Anton Zedibe got a press, he went to the court again, which he got the injunction. So we have precedents. If Rufai thought that what the president had done is not good, he would have gone back to the Supreme Court and said, interpret. So what the truth of the matter there is that, mind you that Rufai is among the governors who thinks that Nigeria belongs to them, that Nigeria must have to be adjudicated and governed according to their prices and caprices, as it is not going down with them now. And again, there are two states in Nigeria that the problem always starts. It is Kano and Kaduna. Please, I am very much appealing to Nigerians to be very mindful of what the governors of Kaduna and Kano states are doing, because we will get to see the end of it. Let us not see the end of it tragically, because it is always tragic when it is Kano and Kaduna.
Yeah, I will get back to you on this last statement, where you mentioned Kaduna and Kano as key actors on major issues in this country. But Dennis, now how would you interpret the action of MFL? The Supreme Court gave a ruling. Now the CBN governor shunned that ruling and went ahead to stop use of old currencies. Now President Muhammadu Buhari made a broadcast yesterday and said 200 naira should continue to be used, and the MFL accepted that, honored it. So how would you interpret that? Based on, Martin said they were not joined in the suit, and then maybe perhaps that could be the reason why they felt it is not their business, and then continued to do what they insisted on the February 10 timeline. Now, what interpretation are you going to give to what he has done now?
Okay, first and foremost, you have already said they were not joined in the suit. So, in other words, they should not be under any obligation to obey that court order. But be that as it may, even if they were joined, personally, I don't think I should expect them to obey that court order. In fact, in this country, yes, my reason is very simple. Because in this country, disobeying court order has become part of the system, unfortunately though. Yes, both Rufai of Kaduna State, our president Muhammadu Buhari, all of them, they have at one point or other disobeyed court order in this country. You understand? So it is no longer, it is not unusual. It has almost become part of, though it is wrong, but that has been what we have seen so far. It has always been there. So for me, I think because of the interest, because of the aim of that policy, I think it would have been wrong for the president to obey that court order. Though in his address, he subtly acknowledged I think in paragraph 15 or so, he acknowledged the fact that this matter is in case, it's in court, yes, and that as a law-abiding administration, that they are aware that it's in court and pronouncements made. And he stopped at that and went ahead to now talk about the bringing back of 200 naira notes and all of that. And I expect MFLA to go on with the presidential orders, and that is how it is. For me, if I'm in their shoes, what they did is what I will do.
Okay, well, that's a good policy. Everybody is applauding. But I think, like you observed, the rule of law, the non-observance of the rule of law is the major problem this country is facing. So I don't think MFLA chose to trample on the law, because the law setting up the CBN is a different statute, and what all these other things are playing out, may not.
Yeah, we have already exempted MFLA. Yeah, we are not talking about the president, because a lot of people are already accusing the president of disobeying court order. Yes, and that's the angle. That's what I just said, that if I'm in the shoes of the president, for the aim not to be defeated, because it was clearly stated in the speech, part of the aim for which this policy is intended is to curb vote buying. So if at the end of the day he is stopped by the court, it means that the aim is defeated.
Yes, defeated. Okay. Now, Martin, you mentioned Kano, Kaduna as flashpoints in critical areas when it comes to issues, that can put the country on the boil. Now, you may not be far from it, given if we have to take into account the recent comment coming from Rufai, mooting the idea of interim national government, which he is now accusing some cabal. He said some cabals in the presidency are already thinking about an interim national government, and that will frustrate the effort of their own candidate, the APC candidate. And he said that the issue of Naira Redesign is a tool, to create crisis and then impose interim national government. Now, this has not gone down with so many people, especially the Ohanes and Igbo, the Igbo area of the country. Now, how would you describe Rufai's statement in the light of your suspicion? And are you surprised at what he said?
You see, I'm not very surprised if you know Rufai very, very well. Rufai is outspoken. Rufai says things the way he likes it and the way he's using and his group. Number one, Rufai was the one who told us that Obi will only get 200 votes. That Obi, his son said, if Obi wins the president of the presidency of Nigeria, he will run out of Nigeria. Number two, number three. Don't forget very well that the events that turned Nigeria upside down on January 15, 1966. January 15, 1966 started in Kaduna by somebody also called Chukuma Kaduna Nzogu. You understand? Yeah. So number three, I've mentioned you, whenever we are doing election in Nigeria, two states will obtain the result, Kano and Kaduna. I don't know what makes Kano to have 44 local governments and Imo State has 27. I want to ask, when Nigeria won the first Nations Cup in 1980, how many players came from Kano and Kaduna? All the awards, intellectual awards Nigeria has been winning in international circles, how many have come from Kaduna? You understand me? So the whole thing you are seeing from Rufai is a packaged conspiracy. He's saying that some people, some cabal, he calls it cabals. It's a mistake. There's nothing like cabals. It's cabal. That word cabal were the abbreviations, the initials of the 5 principal actors that used to control King James in England. The name cabal came, and Rufai is saying cabals. It's not cabals. He's saying that a group of cabal in the presidency is trying to institute international. It is not true. It is imagination of Rufai. It is an excuse. No, Buhari cannot do it. If you know Buhari very well, Buhari cannot do it. So he should stop deceiving people. Rufai is highly very disturbed that to the extent up to now, it is not well clear that Asiwaju Ahmed Bola Tinubu is going to win the presidency of Nigeria. That is why Ganduje and Rufai are very much disturbed. If, as Dan said, if they could not protest against the hike in fuel, if they could not protest against the incessant killings in Nigeria, kidnappings, if they could not protest against fuel subsidy, why should they not be protesting? Did we tell them that we have all died? Please, I should tell Nigerians to totally disregard Rufai. It's an interest, is a matter of interest.
Yes, in addition, he said something about, what Rufai'S talked about when he mentioned cabal. For me, for people like us, when I hear that, I don't know how I feel like laughing, because it's somehow surprising to hear Rufai saying cabal in the presidency when he is there. Just like he said, he was part of the pioneer members of APC. They all did it. They all have been there controlling power. All this. So for me, I can't wrap my head around it when he says cabal in the presidency. You understand? And then talking about what Mr. Martins raised, the Kano having 44 local governments. This is part of the structural imbalance we have in this country, and some of the things we need to put or get right for us to move forward. And that is why Nigerians are clamoring, and that is why it's as if Nigerians are moving towards a particular candidate as we speak now. Look at all the polls conducted so far. He has taken the lead, and it points at something that people want genuine change. People want to move away from what we have as a system to something, different and better.
Whom are you referring to? You said the opinions of the survey.
Yes, it's Peter Obi of Labour Party. The survey has favored him. About 3 polls from reputable organizations. The last is even a foreign organization. They have all given him the lead, and those polls cannot be all wrong. Moreover, one of the polls also came up with the prediction that Buhari will win in 2015 and even in 2019, and they all came out to be true. So I am not in doubt with any of those polls, but I'm trying to point out why the people are all pushing or pointing towards the same direction, because of all these anomalies in the system.
Okay, Martin, do you share the view he just expressed? Because everybody is rooting for P2B, so it seems. Do you think he's going to have an easy ride into Aso Rock?
And the word easy is not the word. P2B, as I've said, have come to revolutionize the electoral processes in Nigeria. Remember, as I said in my 3 previous articles, that when I see the way P2B is going, I remember what happened in America in the elections of 1960 that produced John F. Kennedy as the president. That was the first election in America that the televisions were allowed for candidates to debate. And because he was smart, he was very articulate, talking about JF Kennedy, he stole the show against a more experienced Richard Nixon, who was at that time the vice president of America. P2B has made the youth, made every person to have absolute confidence in the electoral processes in Nigeria, and we must give kudos to INEC. The chairman, Mahmoud Yakubu, because of the innovations he has brought into the system. Obi, if you ask me, is the most brilliant of all the 3. You can see how he's speaking. He tells you that the problem of Nigeria is lack of production. We should start producing, and by the time we start producing, some of these youths will go to the factory, they will get jobs, criminality will reduce. I have issues, because there was something he said structural imbalances. The structural imbalances in the Nigerian system as currently constituted do not give P2B the chance the way we are seeing it. There are 176,000 polling units in Nigeria. How many are in the southeast? How many are in the south? How many polling units do we have how many of the registered voters, out of the 93 million registered voters we have, only 10 are in the southeast. Mind you again, insecurity is high in the southeast. In Imo State, for example, are you aware that Okigwe and Oluzons, we are going to have below 25% in the participation, and the southeast is a big stronghold. These are points. Again, and again. If you go to the north, for instance, the way we talk here as enlightened fellows, the way the Igbo youth knows that these are inviting. That is not how it happens in the north. In the north, you as a Baba of Kangida, over 1,000 youth would have come to you this morning. You feed them, and whatever you tell them, that's what they do. In the north, a day before the election, which is a Friday, whatever the imam says that we have concluded, they go to do is not like that in the southeast. So by the time you put all these things together, you see that there are so many factors that are counting on Obi as a person, not because of he's not the best candidate, but because of the structural imbalances in the system. You understand? And I want you to understand that Nigeria, till as we talk here now, is highly tribalized. What played out in 1979-83 is back here with us, where there are the three major ethnic groups in Nigeria were represented in the ballot. Zik in the MPP, Awo, UPN, and Shagari, MPN. That is what we're having. So a situation where the Igbos will massively vote for Obi is there. The Yoruba will massively vote for their son is there, and the Hausa Fulani group. We are praying that it doesn't happen so, but these are the dynamics we have to look at.
Okay, I want to disagree a bit with my brother, Mr. Martins.
Which area?
Yes, on trying to compare the scenario, the political scenario of 1979 with what we are seeing today. And that is why I want to look at, because the question you ask is if it's going to have an easy ride. I am looking at it first from the angle of divine kind of intervention in the first place, beginning from how he took off. Remember, he left PDP. And on time he left, and in fact became the biggest marketer of his own brand. He made Labour Party what it is today. You understand? So from that, from the way he took off, and from what has happened all this while, you will agree with me that it cannot just be ordinary. It cannot just be human. You understand? Then, having said that, I want to also say that, I mean, the dynamics of politics will also play a very wonderful role here. It's not going to be, it's going to be, there will be a very big difference with what we saw in that 1979 and now, because just like Babaki Lawal said on national television the other day, he said, not him, this other man, the former speaker, also Northern Christian, what's his name again? Dogara. Good. He said that he has never seen this level of acceptance. I mean, a candidate outside the North having this level of acceptance in the North. That is to tell you, I mean, to talk about the dynamics, what we are going to experience. So I am no longer looking at Peter Obi from the angle of a candidate from the Southeast. No, I'm looking at him as a candidate for the entire country, and even, I mean, globally, because the world is also watching. You understand? From everything he has done, look at his campaigns. Do you know that as we speak today, Peter Obi remains the only person who has refused to join issues like attack individuals, attack his fellow? He doesn't do that. He can respond, but he doesn't call names. And I mean, they have all attacked him. both the ruling party candidate, the opposition candidate, they have, but he has never. He has always continued to be, to center his campaigns on issues, issue-based campaign. That is what, so he has actually, like you pointed out, changed the political narrative. Whether he wins or not, even though I know he will win, but he has really done something differently. He has really changed a whole lot of things. And history will continue to remember what P2B has already done, because he has, okay, look at him now visiting all the states and going to areas that even some of the candidates who are from those areas have not visited. You heard about him going to Mubi in Adamawa State. One of the presidential candidates is from Adamawa State, and they confessed that even their son has refused to come and visit them, even with their plight. Their plight. So these are some of the things he has done differently, and this is why I believe he is going to win fair and square.
Okay, Martins, let me ask you now. There are protest actions, fueling the Naira redesign. Do you suspect that if these issues persist, maybe it's likely going to truncate the election?
It will interest you to know from that a protest is a component of democracy and constitutionalism. What are they protesting for? It is left in the hands of the government. In this instance now, the federal government, to call the protesters to roundtable discussion if they are identifiable. If you are protesting, you must either come from a group, you must either come from a community, a body, association, or state. But what we have seen so far is that those protests are talking in Warri, in Edo, Lagos, Kaduna, Ibadan. These are charlatans, mostly. Go to the banks. Those who have money, who have genuine business to transact with the bank, cannot come to burn the bank. You are burning the bank. Burning the bank, does he pay you the money? Those who have gone to the ATM machine, who have gone into the bank to do transaction, you always see them talking, shouting, weeping, crying, looking crestfallen. They are in the lines. You understand? So these protests are talking about are still sponsored by those charlatans we are talking about, who don't want the election to go free and fair. So that is why the president or the presidency will not mind them, because they have the security report of where these people are coming from.
But they should not be ignored.
No. I have said before that it is for the president to look out for them and call them to order. There are two ways of doing it. Either you use security to go and quench what they are doing, or you identify them and call them to a roundtable talk.
Okay, Daniel, one more question before we round off.
Okay.
Now, it is said that there are always two sides to every coin. Now we have seen the negative aspect of the Naira redesign. Now, do you think there are some positive things it has brought to the life of Nigerians, economically and socially? The Naira redesign, what people are actually facing now, has it in any way, reconditioned them, either in the manner they spend money or in any, what other benefits?
Yes, the dividends are already coming. If you ask me, I'll tell you that the dividends are already coming. Let me begin with the issue of security. For some time now, since this monetary policy was introduced, for some time now, we have hardly heard of kidnapping and asking for ransom. You understand? It's possible that this redesigned Naira notes contributed to it. Definitely, because you who wants to go and kidnap, you know that it will be, in fact, you just get ready to kill the person, because you know that the money might not be there for you to collect, because it's either you provide your account number, which you will not do. You will always ask them to bring in cash. So it has somehow, no matter how we look at it, curtailed or brought down the rate of kidnapping. That is one. Two, when it comes to inflation, it's already beginning to work on that. You know, when we talk about inflation, a lot of people do not really understand this. I told my friend the other day that each time I bring out 100 naira these days, 200 naira, I feel it becomes so big for me to spend, you know, because it's making this these notes to now have value. Though the prices of goods and services are still on the high side, but this is how it begins. Because when we talk about inflation, we're talking about when we have too much money, you know, chasing not too many goods. So that is another aspect of it. That is economy, when it comes to economy. Then on the issue of vote buying, which is part of the primary target of this policy, is already making the politicians who do not have the popularity and acceptability to win this election, it's already making them to get jittery. Yes, and that is why you are seeing all these whoos and cries from them, all you know, claiming to be speaking in defense of the masses. So there are a lot of benefits coming from the policy, though it's biting hard on the people. But I pray God, who has already sustained us, because I must tell you the truth, this administration, I mean, is synonymous with hardship. So if we have gone this far, you know, it's 7 years plus now, I mean, we are almost there. So I appeal to Nigerians not to take laws into their hands, not to get involved in burning of banks and all of that. Like Mr. Martin said, we know some of them are sponsored and some of them do not even have accounts in the bank. So please, they should not, you know, think in that direction. They should not be involved. We are getting there. The dividends of this policy are enormous, and it is all for our good.
Okay, Martin, your final word. What do you have to tell Nigerians as 2023 election approaches?
He has said it all. The only thing I want to add is that the scarcity of any currency is what makes the economy strong. And that is part of the target, the aims of the policy. It's not good for any currency to be flying up and down. If I give you $1 now, if you see how you're going to handle it, save it, put inside your purse and save it, you will not spend it anyhow. But the place anywhere you see Naira flying up and down, hoodlums, people spending Naira anyhow. In the morning, instead of a woman to cook food and give to the children for lunch, she will give them 200 Naira to buy something at school. That is not good. As I was coming to the studio here, 3 people, 2 boys and 1 girl, transferred to the driver because they didn't have cash. So that is all about it. The sufferings we are talking about, there is something we call the pangs of a woman in labor. It will last for 30 minutes, 1 hour, 2 hours. Immediately the child arrives, every person starts to jubilate. That is how we are going to jubilate at the end of it all, if it continues. But if you allow those who are agitating against it to have their way, that is when the pangs will continue.
It's okay. Viewers, this is the much we can take from this program. Martin, thanks for coming.
Thank you very much.
Danes, thanks for coming.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. Please continue to keep in touch as we bring you another interesting edition shortly. My name is Afam80. Remember to like our Facebook page and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thank you so much.